Badam, badam, badam. Alright, Leute, ich würde sagen, 5 times Pro Players were arrested over League of Legends. Also einfach reinhieten. Bin auf jeden Fall spannend. Lasst gerne einen Sub da, wenn es euch gefällt, und rein da.
This is Curtis Lau Kin. In 2012, he would be winning the League of Legends World Finals with his team, the Taipei Assassins. 9 years later, he would be facing up to 10 years in prison for drug trafficking. Surprisingly, this is not the only player to find himself in legal trouble after...
Das was hier. Oh, warte, ich sehe gar nicht. Hier, das ist was. Der chinesische Eddie Carry Vasili, ne?
9 years later, he would be facing up to 10 years in prison for drug trafficking. Surprisingly, this is not the only player to find himself in legal trouble after finishing their esports career. From pro players being on most wanted list to challenger players being arrested.
Pro players being on most was? Most wanted? Okay, ich kenne leider, ich weiß nicht, wer das ist. Ich kenne keinen von den dreien. Weil ich dachte, das wäre League of Legends Spieler. Ich müsste sie doch kennen. Einen von den dreien. Wenn das der Pro-Player ist, aber vielleicht ist es ein anderer E-Sport, aber hier steht League of Legends im Titel.
Players being on most wanted list to challenger players being arrested at gaming cafes. Today we are taking a look at the strange history of League of Legends players ending up in jail. After winning Worlds in 2012, Curtis, also known as his gamertag Toys, would continue his esports career until eventually retiring in 2017. 4 years later, he would be arrested and accused of forming a drug syndicate involving his friends. Reportedly, he was caught after Taiwanese police posed as drug buyers, and 7 of his other associates were also arrested. He was selling THC products through the internet. In June of 2022, Toys pled guilty to drug trafficking. I will say though, you know the meme that goes something like, "Look at my lawyer, I'm going to jail"? Toys' lawyer kind of threw him under the bus. Reportedly, the lawyer tried arguing that Toys simply didn't know that he was breaking the law. He said, quote, "Toys has only a middle school education, hails from Hong Kong, and travels a lot between the two places. As a result, he is not familiar with the Taiwan laws." Basically saying, "Your Honor, my client did something illegal, but he didn't know it was illegal." A weird defense, because after a quick Google search, you can see that any marijuana substance is just as illegal in Hong Kong. Now, as of today, it appears Toys hasn't been imprisoned or deported. From translating his videos and comments on the topic, it's hard to tell what's going on because he seems to joke about the situation a lot, but it does seem he went through a rehab program issued by the judge and 3 months of prison. I'm unsure, however, if the case is closed because the worst case scenario for his crime could have been up to 10 years in prison and a fine of up to 5 million new Taiwan dollars. That is equivalent to 180,000 US dollars. Anyways, don't do drugs.
I know marijuana.
Als wäre dir nichts passiert, oder was? Er hat sich schuldig bekannt, hat er 3 Monate gehabt, oder was? Und dann er hat einfach Geld, nehme ich an. Aber es ist auch, dass sein Anwalt ihn unter den Bus geworfen hat, ist doch in Absprache mit ihm dieses Plädoyer erschienen, oder nicht? Ist das so ein richtig typisches? Nee, ja, das ist nicht richtig typisch. Aber das ist so einfach ein weirdes Video, no? Er hat 700.000 Subscriber auf YouTube, alle mancher nach. Mit chillt einfach und isst was und redet darüber, dass er festgenommen wurde, aber weggekommen ist. Chillig. Okay.
Assault case had stepped into
The world's best duelist if I smoked marijuana.
Moving along, here's a headline you don't hear every day. Chinese policeman accidentally caught wanted man while playing League of Legends. An off-duty police officer in Chongqing, China had stepped into an internet cafe. The officer was invited by some friends to play some games. As he was getting settled, an announcement went off on the speakers announcing that a challenger player had logged in the cafe. Then later, when the officer was walking by the player's computer, he took a look at the player and did a double take when he recognized that this challenger player was actually a man wanted by his police department for a recent civil assault case. The officer then called for backup, and eventually the challenger player's identity was verified and he was arrested. But to make matters more interesting, allegedly they waited around for the wanted man's game to finish before arresting him. I guess hope in humanity isn't quite lost yet.
Also, das ist ja so cool, oder nicht? Hä? Stell dir vor, ich war ja auch in verschiedenen Gaming-Bangs und Kaffee-Bars in Korea. Und du kommst halt einfach rein und auf einmal ist da so ein Announcement: A challenger player has entered the room. Ist ja so
Friends
cool.
To play some games. As he was getting settled, an announcement went off on the speakers announcing that a challenger player had logged in the cafe. Then
Das ist ja so cool. Also jetzt scheiße für den Bro, weil er halt ne, festgenommen wurde. Ich meine, ich weiß nicht, was er gemacht hat, weil ist er gar kein Bro. Aber anyway, auf jeden Fall, dieses Announcement ist bestimmt ziemlich hype.
And later, when the officer was walking by the player's computer, he took a look at the player and did a double take when he recognized that this challenger player was actually a man wanted by his police department for a recent civil assault case. The officer then called for backup, and eventually the challenger player's identity was verified and he was arrested. But to make matters more interesting, allegedly they waited around for the wanted man's game to finish before arresting him. I guess hope in humanity isn't...
Also, vielleicht wollen sie nicht das Game der anderen 9 Leute zerstören, oder aber sie dachten sich so, wir sind uns nicht sicher, ob der das ist, oder ich warte noch auf Backup, aber come on. Wenn ihr einfach auf das Game gewartet, ist ja verrückt. Ist ja verrückt, ey. Meine
quite
Güte.
lost yet. But it is funny to note that the player would have never been fined or arrested if it wasn't for the fact that he was challenger. Another W for the low elo players.
Twitch und YouTube, das seid ihr, United, woohoo!
These guys certainly deserve to be locked up. On June 6th, 2022, multiple reports came out that the recently retired professional League of Legends player named Eisen was arrested for, quote, committing an obscene act on a minor.
What?
Let's back up a little to get some background on who this
fuck,
guy
bro?
is. Eisen played in the LJL throughout 2016 to 2019. The LJL is Japan's major League of Legends competitive league. However, a bit concerning, this is one pro gamer who actually had previous work experience. Eisen is an ex-police officer.
Come on, man, you know I hate cops.
And somehow it gets worse. After his esports career, he was currently also a lecturer at multiple high schools. Oddly enough, his last tweet before being arrested was, "I have news to please everyone soon." Likely an unfortunate coincidence. Now back to his arrest, I'm not quite sure what the conclusion of this story is. The few reports out there stated he was arrested, however, it seemed he is no longer in custody, as less than a month later, he wrote some sort of apology message on Twitter. It's hard to translate this as it's handwritten and the translation apps don't properly pick up the words. And unfortunately, it's very possible that he didn't get much of a punishment for his crime. In Japan, many sexual crimes carry short sentences. For example, if you are convicted of molesting someone in Tokyo, you can face a maximum prison sentence of 6 months. It doesn't take being a lawyer to think that's pretty messed up. And unfortunately, this situation isn't as uncommon as you'd expect. This is Bradley Miller, a collegiate...
Ich habe jetzt nichts gelernt. Also konnte das nicht übersetzen, was sein Entschuldigungsschreiben war. Und wurde genau bewiesen, was er gemacht hat? Oder ich habe es nicht verstanden. Aber dann ist es fucked up, aber im Zweifel für den Angeklagten. Ich habe jetzt nicht mitbekommen, was es für Beweise oder so gab. Er war angeklagt und wurde freigesprochen, oder wie? I don't know what happened. Ich habe keine Meinung, weil ich nicht verstanden habe, was passiert ist. Also da gab es irgendwie keine eindeutigen Beweise zu irgendwas, oder zumindest nicht in diesem Video.
League of Legends player who also participated in some minor tournaments. Today, Bradley is on the run.
Bradley Edward Miller, white male, 24 years of age, 5'8", wanted
das ist
for
der
rape,
Dude von
second
der
degree, and
Most
traveling
Wanted
to meet a
Liste.
minor for unlawful sex act.
On April 27th, a local news station reported on a man who was arrested over accusations of having content involving minors and more.
Oh god, again, fucked up.
King Vex.
He was actually caught thanks to a tip given to the police. It appears he was using the messaging app Kik for these acts, and the police tracked the IP address associated to the username, and the email used to sign up for the account was tied to Bradley as well. It would appear that after being arrested, he posted bail, and then did not show up when called back by the police or the courts. However, despite actively being on a most wanted list, he still found time to do what's most important. Play League of Legends. Why the f is King Vex in a game? Okay, apparently there's a chance it's not actually him and someone stole his name. But that could also mean that he changed his name on his account to continue playing without being noticed. Anyway, unlike Bradley's Japanese counterpart, the US takes this kind of stuff very seriously. His offense was listed as a Class B felony. Class B felonies can put you in prison for up to 10 years. And I'm sure running away from the police adds a little bit of trouble to your case. Also,
Aber dieses ganze komplette Konzept fucked up. Du bist quasi angeklagt in Untersuchungshaft, dann bezahlst du ein bisschen Geld und wirst einfach freigelassen? Weil du Geld bezahlt hast und dann verschwindest du halt für so lange wie du kannst, bis du wieder gefangen wirst. Das ist doch voll weird, oder nicht?
If you get in trouble with the law, your professional League of Legends career is most likely over. The main example we have of this is back in 2017. The player Vasily, who was a somewhat popular player, played in the
Das sind meist größere Summen, mir ist mir scheißegal, wie viel Geld die bezahlt haben. So, man hat gute Indizien, dass sie irgendein Verbrechen begangen haben. Man hat noch nicht die Schuld bewiesen, meinetwegen. Er ist in Untersuchungshaft. Und auf einmal bezahlt er Geld und wird freigelassen?
CS and LPL publicly had a domestic dispute with his girlfriend live on stream that resulted in him being arrested.
Ja, das ist der Vasily-Fall, ne? Ja. Das war fucked up damals, ja. Jetzt ist nicht besser geworden über die Jahre.
Allegedly, this was all resolved, and the girlfriend told the police he never hit her, despite the audio of the stream being pretty bad. But this situation gathered a ton of attention. A post on Reddit titled "Vasily got taken in by the police for beating his girlfriend" received over 15,000 upvotes. Soon after the altercation, his team announced that he had been removed from the team. Later, Riot themselves also made a statement. In this, they placed a 20-month ban on Vasily from competing in professional League of Legends. The ban would end in January 1st, 2020. Obviously, we are far past that date, and despite the ban being lifted, that was the end of Vasily's professional career. Also, while we're on the topic, an honorable mention. In 2016, a regular player like you and I was arrested for calling his teammate mentally retarded. This happened in Taiwan, and allegedly the teammate who was insulted attempted to file a lawsuit against the player who called him
okay, der ganze europäische Server muss verhaftet werden, wenn das ausreicht.
Bad words. And somehow it worked. The judge took the case and said, with modern technology, online accounts are an extension of individual identities and therefore have the same rights. The player who was being toxic in chat ended up serving 30 days in jail.
Okay, jetzt finde ich ein bisschen übertrieben. Den letzten Fall. Irgendwie, also einige davon war interessanter zu hören, aber ich meine, ich würde niemals so sagen, dass, also Toxicity in Games ist scheiße, aber es sollte einfach von dem Game limitiert werden und nicht von dem Gericht oder der Polizei des Landes. I don't know. Naja, ab in die Einzelwarteschlange. Mal gucken, wer uns heute so beleidigen wird. Wer mir den Tod wünscht, wer sagt, meine Mom go Sky und all die anderen Klassiker.